Guess I'll just wait a minute for everybody to get here. Sorry about that. If anyone knows of a better way to reboot the camera when it does that without having to reboot the fucking stream, I would love to know about it, because this is a pain in the ass to do, and I'm sure it's a bit annoying for you as well. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're getting back in here. So, okay, I found... Wait. I looked up TYT response to leftist criticism, and I found that video, but I also found TYT responds to haters. And it's like, I wonder, that's from 5 years ago, and I'm wondering, which haters were they responding to then? Like, but okay, let's get started. I want to hear them respond to leftist.
I don't care about the left. I don't care about the right. I care about
polymarkets. I care about polymarkets. Get official indisputable merch at shoptyt.com.
results. And I'm sorry, this false dichotomy, this BS like tribalism has only hurt the country. On areas where we can work together, we should work together.
Tribalism, like, I mean, unlike, for example, pretending to be really outraged over the words birthing people. Welcome back, River Rude.
On some positive things today, which is a bit shocking. We'll see if it holds.
Brace for impact.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God. So I've been getting yelled at online.
Wow. Okay, let me just say, maybe other people have actually had this experience as well, but that cup that Anatransphobian has, if that is what I think it is, which is to say a metal coffee mug, those are the worst things ever. Like, I mean, that is the most sadistic fucking drinking vessel anyone has ever come up with.
All day.
So what's new?
I know, right? What, you're saying that Trump enforcing a ceasefire against Israel is a good thing? No. Oh, boo! We don't.
Well, was there anything that happened before that, maybe? Like, did he possibly commit a criminal act of aggression against Iran? Like, maybe that wasn't great? We're just gonna pretend that part didn't happen?
What? Israel to have a ceasefire? No, but wait, we do want Israel to comply with a ceasefire. No, you.
Well, except, I mean, they're not complying. They've never complied with any ceasefire.
Anyway, okay, all right. Well, anyway.
And, I mean, let's just remember, we're talking about the Iran one, which is, first of all, is not really a ceasefire in the sense that there is no agreement. Like, Iran has been very clear they will not, be seen to agree to anything because they don't trust any of these agreements because the U.S. and Israel violate them at will. So all they're saying is, as long as Israel doesn't attack us, we won't attack them. That's it. That's not any kind of, that's not a deal. That is entirely, and they're doing that specifically so that they do not have to overcome any kind of bullshit if they do have to counterattack, because they know Israel will violate it. And the reason the U.S. and Israel wanted a quick end to hostilities with Iran was because Israel was getting wrecked. Israel was being utterly humiliated in it. I mean, yes, Israel did some serious damage within Iran, that's true. But the thing is, that's to be expected because Israel is massively technologically superior. What is not to be expected is that Iran, completely overwhelmed their missile defenses, and it turns out seems to have done serious damage to multiple major military bases.
We'll adjudicate. We'll sort that out. Okay.
I think one of the best things that you can do to kind of understand this current political moment, because a lot of things don't make sense if you're kind of operating based on the old partisan lens.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, we're gonna get a new lens.
Wish that things were as cut and clear as they might have been in the early aughts, but they're not. They're not. And it's hard to make sense of how things are changing and realigning.
It's easy to make sense of them. What she means is she would like people not to make too much sense of how she personally has been very clearly realigning.
This tomorrow, so I have time to produce it, but Candace Owens was on Piers Morgan today for a one-on-one interview. That interview blew my mind, okay? Because everything she said was accurate.
Like, what did she say? I mean, let's remember this is Candace Owens, who is on the record talking about what a great guy Hitler is. Like, she is not pro-Palestinian. She doesn't give a shit about Palestinians. She does not like Jews. That is the entire thing. She does not want any Palestinian solidarity movement has her in there. Is something that she's going to try to turn into something other than a Palestinian solidarity movement.
Everything she said was true.
Like what?
And everything she said is reminiscent of what you would hear from a left-wing show.
Well, if all she said was things that were factually accurate, then all you're saying is that she was saying things that, because they are facts, anyone who cares about facts would say. That's literally all that is. That doesn't mean anything. Like, that's like saying, that's like you go to somebody who's like, hey, what's the weather out? It's a sunny day. And you go, what's the weather out, like, right now? And they say, oh, it's sunny. And you're like, holy shit, man. Dude, he said it's sunny. That's the sort of thing you'd expect leftists to say when you ask them about this. And this guy, he's not a leftist, but he said it's sunny too. Clearly, we have much in common.
Arguing against essentially aiding and abetting Israel in its genocide in Gaza, for instance.
Yeah, so I'll say, they had a whole giant Piers Morgan episode about this massive split in MAGA. But I went on...
It doesn't seem to have been terribly massive.
So just a couple of days ago, and they think there's no split at all.
No, there's definitely...
Well, yeah, because you look at it and it's like, it turns out that when you get down to it, no matter what their commitments are, they're all willing to just continue to ride Trump's dick. They're not gonna, like, there is no meaningful split. Were there any resignations in the cabinet?
Definitely a split, right?
But that's what they said.
Wait, she's already sort of... she's already dialing back. She's like, oh, it's not really a split. They're clearly getting into this with very different priorities.
And so I don't know if they're on this planet. And when I asked them if they're on this planet, they seem to get mad, and they're, by the way, to be fair to them, they're representing their audience, and their audience doesn't see it at all.
Anna doesn't apparently see it either. She said it's not really a split a second ago.
That's because they're not getting accurate information.
Well,
if you think there's no MAGA split in the country, you're...
Okay, so name one high-profile resignation. Who resigned from the Trump cabinet as part of this big split? Who resigned from any think tank or whatever associated with him and his government as part of this supposed split? There was a difference of opinion, and then they came back together.
You're a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
I mean, I think there was a bigger split inside Trump himself than there was inside the Trump cult.
Hold on. I wouldn't say they're not getting accurate information.
Look at this. I mean, he is so he so needs to make this, his entire point falls apart if you don't accept that there's this huge split. And these people, they're not getting accurate information. They don't even know that there's a huge split. And she's like, well, I don't know if you call it a split, and I wouldn't say that they're not getting accurate information. Like, did they talk about this in advance?
That Crystal and Kyle are giving accurate information.
I just mean in general.
Hold on, but what I think is an issue, and I was guilty of this. This was an issue that I had in the way that I was covering stories some years ago. It's that you end up in a bubble and you don't even realize it.
Oh,
right?
that's definitely right.
And when you
You mean like the sort of bubble where you think it's normal to get angry about things like saying birthing people?
you're in that bubble, there's certain information that's not getting to you. You have to literally actively seek it out because of these.
Oh, this is her explanation for why she decided to become a fan of Kyle Shittentraus and a Central Park birdwatcher truther.
Serving up what the algorithm thinks you want to know or thinks you want to see.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean that you have to
And we here at Polymarket Studios want to be what the algorithm thinks you want to know.
agree with everything that Candace Owens believes in. Obviously, we don't. But that interview was fire. Everything she said in that interview was
Like, can you give a fucking example? Because if it's just that she said some things that are just facts, like, that doesn't mean anything. Okay, so she said some factual things. I don't think anyone thinks that the people in the fash media lie about literally every single thing. If you ask them their favorite food, yeah, I don't think they're lying to you. If you ask them something that matters beyond just that, then probably they are going to lie to you, though.
correct. And if you can't give her credit for saying things that we on the left believe,
Can you give an example? And, like, okay, so it's not facts we're talking about then, it's beliefs? So she expressed a belief that is shared by people on the left. Can you give an example, like, of what this is that we're supposed to be giving her credit for?
you really have to ask yourself, how are you operating? Are you operating based on,
I'm operating based on examples. Have you got any?
supporting a specific tribe no matter what?
Yes, that's definitely what they're
They
doing.
really love to use the word tribe, don't they?
And if you do that, well, then you're not driven by policy. You're not driven by actually accomplishing the policies that we think will make the country better.
Yeah, look, it's not about Con Crystal at all. I mean, oftentimes, I think, sometimes these days, it used to be oftentimes, they're usually among the more reasonable.
Wow, see, that's what happened. It's everybody around him got less reasonable. That's what really happened, you see, chat. It isn't that fucking Cenk and Anna Transphobian moved massively to the right and then had a huge fucking crash out. To the extent that the last time they did a video responding to their haters, 5 years ago, it got like 187,000 views, and this one has less than half of that. It's not that they moved to the right and are now having a fucking crash out. It's that everybody suddenly became unreasonable.
But these days, like, if you're on the left and you're watching any of the other shows, you're not getting accurate information at all.
Like what? Like, can either of you give an example of what the fuck you're talking about? Other than saying that fucking Candace Owens may have said some true things?
They're telling you that the actual Trump voters are liars.
I mean, is that what they're saying? Like, that they're just sort of like, they're the guy in the hypothetical who can only lie? Is that what they're saying?
And they love war.
Well, I mean, actually, the uniting view, if you actually look at the polls, the two things, I mean, apart from being being much whiter than the majority of the population and much richer than the majority of the population, the other thing that they really have in common, it certainly is not being anti-war. They're very clearly not anti-war. The polls bear that out. But they are very obsessed with white identity. Like, I mean, yes, you will find some people in there who would say that they are anti-war. I mean, though what they mean by that will turn out to be very variable. Like, which wars in particular. For example, let me just give you an example of how anti-war Trump voters are. Like, the overwhelmingly... See, Israel has... okay. And the overwhelming majority of people who vote for Democrats have a negative view of Israel. The overwhelming majority of the people who vote Republicans, which is a smaller number, but it is a larger percentage of that smaller number, have a positive view of Israel. They're also more likely to think that attacking Iran was a good idea, even though actually, I mean, in that particular case, the polls were off the hook. It was like 85% said no, 5% said yes, and 10% weren't sure.
That's not true at all, right? So that's some of the Trump voters will do whatever Trump wants, but
I mean, and we're not talking so much about the voters. The voters, for the most part, I mean, it's like Obama and what, I mean, he himself called his army. Like, these people who would just get emails and they would do whatever, and the whole thing was they would just basically do what was said in the emails. They would, like, phone tree or whatever. And you didn't owe anything to them, and he was very proud of that model. And that is a lot of what MAGA is. It's just a fucking cult of personality of people who will show up to vote for him every few years, and the rest of the time are, you know, just complaining about ethics and game journalism with live ammunition or whatever the fuck they do.
a lot of them are actually anti-war. And they're making it seem like almost all of the left-wing shows as if the most extreme MAGA guy represents all 77 million Trump voters. And if you believe that, then you'll hate them. Of course,
I mean, the thing is, I don't need that. You don't have to have it be the most extreme person. You just have to look at what they were voting for. You have to look at what they were standing for. Like, I mean, for one thing, this isn't like, Trump isn't some new guy at this point. Like, they know exactly what they were getting. They voted for it. I do not. I mean, it's one thing, I'm not a big fan of vote shaming and stuff. Hola, JJM. I think that's bullshit. But I do think that you can, shaming people for abstaining, which is something that is mostly poor people do. It's worth noting. Voting is a privileged activity because you have to have a certain amount of privilege within the society to even see it as, to even see yourself as having a horse in the race, which is why abstention is most common amongst the poorest third of the country. But I think it is reasonable to say that if you vote for somebody, you are at the very least expressing a willingness to accept the most prominent features of what they say they're about. Like, not the stuff that they sort of hide away in the campaign that they don't want to talk about. Like, I mean, like Obama, for example, he was a master of giving people a blank slate to project on. And so you could actually, people couldn't really be blamed, at least initially, for not realizing that actually the mental image of Obama that they put together was not the guy. Because you'd have to actually do a bit of a research project because the media also largely weren't talking about what he stood for. I'm talking about the stuff that they come right out and say, yeah, this is what I'm all about, and they brag about it and stuff like that. If somebody votes for somebody who's bragging about certain things, you could at the very least say they probably think those things are acceptable. And in some cases, that will mean that they suck as a person.
Want to call them fascists, the racists, and Nazis, and
like just because they have the
all those things.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's just not fair to call them fascists and racists and Nazis because Cenk had a beer with one of them. And then he just got done explaining why it's not actually okay to want to genocide all Muslims.
But that's maniacal. No, as you get closer to the middle, there's a lot of former Obama voters, former Bernie voters, anti-war voters, anti-establishment voters.
Which is a totally meaningless term.
And almost none of the other left-wing shows are acknowledging that. They're out in la-la land. And honestly, yes, most of the other left-wing shows are totally lying to their audience. And they're saying, no, there's no split. They all...
Well, like Anna was just saying there's not really a split. And again, to me, if you want to talk about a split in a movement, you need to have at least a few high-profile resignations. Like, you need to have at least some sign that somebody took their fucking toys and went home. That didn't happen here. There was a difference of opinion and it was resolved.
All will do whatever Trump wants. They're all the same.
That's exactly what they ended up doing, though. Nobody fucking resigned.
They're all fascists. And by the way, as Kyle pointed at me and said, is it yes or no? Is MAGA fascist?
Well, yes, it is. It's not a hard question, asshole.
Well, what an asinine question.
Yeah, because the answer is obvious, and you have to be a real dickhead to not answer correctly.
What do you mean by MAGA? What do you mean?
Wait a second. You don't... Now all of a sudden it's what do you mean by MAGA? You've been talking about it like it's this thing. And now you're saying you don't know what you mean by it.
You mean Trump voters? Because... No, not all Trump voters are...
Well, what do you mean by it, for fuck's sake? You've been using it as if it is something, it is a thing beyond just a marketing device and cult of personality for Trump. Why don't you fucking define it?
Fascist? But if you say that on another left-wing show, they'll lose their minds.
What he means by this is that they will disagree with you.
They'll say no.
And I actually don't think that they would necessarily very strongly disagree, because there's a difference of opinion around just how technically fascist different aspects of this shit is. So, yeah, no, this is not how any of this would work, Cenk.
Oh, you have to call them fascist. I'm the purest, I'm the most left.
That's fine.
Give me clicks, give me...
You're like, even fucking Anna is sick of this shit. God, he's put off Anna. Like, one of the few people who has not... See, like, for example, when I'm talking about a split, like TYT has had one. Not TIT. TYT has had one. Lots of high-profile resignations. Lots of people who are in their orbit who had actually at least favorable representation, relations with them, moved away from them. That's what a split looks like. I mean, the only reason that you might, like, hesitate to call that a split is that a lot of those people were not... I mean, you wouldn't say that they were, like, organizationally a unit before that. But still, that is what the thing looks like that they're talking about. If you've got a split that does not cause any personnel changes, that's not a split. I mean, I just love how her entire role in this is to put the brakes on Cenk while wearing her fucking Iron Lady tribute suit. Yeah, exactly. What is MAGA in this context? Like, if you're going to... If that's what your response is going to be to somebody saying, is MAGA fascist? When you've been using the term as if you have a very clear understanding and consistent understanding of what it is as an entity, then you got to come forward with what you're calling it, and we can see if we agree with what we're calling the thing. But, yeah, it's time for me to wrap up. Thank you to everyone who joined in. Sorry about last night. I was just so fucking tired. I just needed ice cream and relaxation. And I got it, and it was all that it was cracked up to be. I think I'm probably going to have more ice cream and relaxation now. Actually, I have pizza. I'll have pizza and ice cream and relaxation. I'll fucking rock. have a good night, and let me just drop a link to this GoFundMe. I'm trying to raise money for this translation project. It would be really important, and it would help me because I'm the translator, and this 100% of this is going to me as the translator to translate this legal advice and put it up, subtitle this video. I'm trying to raise $300. I've got it up to 45 now. Let me just make sure that it hasn't. That's where it is. And all support is very much appreciated. Also, if you can't contribute, I understand totally, because we are all fucked at the moment. But if you can, and you do because you want to, then know that I very much appreciate it. Have a good night. And let me just drop the Discord link as well as we are wrapping up. Discord link. Ah, fuck. Where you get that out of the way. Ah, that's not the Discord link. This is the Discord link. Have a good night. See you on Friday at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time.